My regularly scheduled Saturday morning cartoons post will not be shown this week, so I can bring you something different. And it's to prevent any more copyright strikes or warnings from YouTube, so this is how I'm going to do it. The cartoon I'm showing is Quacks. It's a 1939 Warner Brothers Looney Tunes animation short, directed by Bob Clampett. The story was written by Warren Foster. The music was done by Carl W. Stalling. Animation was done by Robert Canyon, John Carey, and Isidore Howard Ellis. He was credited as I. Ellis. Produced by Leon Schlesinger. Released on August 5th, 1939. There was a different design on Daffy that was used in this cartoon. He had a light-colored mask around his eyes and a zigzag around his neck. This design would be used for another Daffy cartoon called Porky's Last Stand, released a year later. The plot of this has Mrs. Daffy Duck to surprise Daffy with the news that she has several eggs waiting to be hatched. Porky reads the announcement on the bulletin, the Barnyard Bulletin, where it says Mr. and Mrs. Daffy Duck are expecting a blessed event. The eggs hatch as Porky comes to congratulate his old friend. Later, an eagle tries to make off with one of the babies. Daffy Duck was drunk from corn juice, from both worrying about the birth as well as celebrating the little hatchlings, pursues a bird napper. So Daffy confronts the eagle, only to gather reinforcements to take on the drunk duck. Then the duck loses one of the hatchlings. As it falls down, Porky ends up catching it and saving its life. The eagles trap Daffy into a barn. Porky Pig comes to the rescue and finds Daffy and a gang of eagles getting drunk together, much to the dismay of Mrs. Daffy Duck. There are a couple of notes that are needed. There are a couple of notes in this that I think everybody should understand. When Mrs. Daffy tries to hide the secret from Daffy, which reveals the baby-sized knitted shirt, the animation was reused for other Merry Melodies cartoons such as I Wish I Had Wings from 1932 and Let It Be Mine in 1936. The scene where Mrs. Daffy tries to speed up the hatching process of her eggs and the hatchlings beg their mother not to was later reused in a Looney Tunes short called Booby Hatched in 1944. And the scene where the eagle is hunting for his prey and his allies were flying around to his aid was reused from an earlier cartoon called Porky's Poultry Plant. There were a few key signs of the cartoon that I liked. The Barnyard Bulletin, where it sees the front page of Tattletale, where Mr. and Mrs. Daffy were expecting a blessed event, and Porky was telling a dog about it, and the dog was like, wow. The other thing was when Mrs. Daffy Duck asked if Daffy was drinking, and he was like, drinking, and he openly admitted it, and Mrs. Daffy just smacked him in the head with a rolling pin. That would be revisited at the end of the film when Mrs. Daffy Duck took that same rolling pin, and instead of bashing Daffy over the head with it, she bashed a bottle of that corn juice, get him to stop that drinking. That was the funniest thing I ever seen. And finally, where Daffy thought he was trapped, but he ended up getting those eagles drunk. That was also cool too. At least he spared his own tail from those eagles trying to beat him up. And that's all you will get for this week, while I try to do something else going further with these Saturday morning cartoons. As it says at the end of my videos, please like and subscribe.
Long